It's raining. All right. Looks like I already have some people here. Let me see how this is going. Have to check this out. I've got showing her some people here, but no actual viewers just yet. We'll see. All right. Just gonna have to go with what I can see here. I've got GM car guy or GM guy 3-car. Hey, Dr. Ozzy. Cool. Glad you're here. Super Duty 455. Hey, Gary. Yeah. Dr. Okay. Rain Man. Leonard. Hey, Leonard. And let's see. Good. I'm glad you can see and hear me. Octagon Garage. Glad you're here. I know. I don't know if we're all getting winter weather and spring weather, whatever. It's towards the end of February. And hey, Robert. And Rain Man. And we get this all the time. You get rainy weather and whatever. Hey, Brandon. But Tony, good to see you. Hey, Andrew. So this past month has just been rain, 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 rain. Oh, look, there's a new name. Salute from Peru. I'm sure that's what that says. I'm pretty sure that's what that says. I'm not sure how to say that. Celso Cruces? Celso Cruces? Is that right? Hope so. Hey, Tim. But man, it's been raining and raining and raining. And it's driving me crazy. I mean, it's better than snow. I will say that. I don't want any snow. I don't want ice. But, it's nice to have the sun out once in a while. I think I heard on the news that, hey, Heath, glad you're here. I heard on the news that this month of February to date for the Atlanta area, hey, Thomas, has been the second wettest month recorded in February. Second wettest February recorded in Atlanta. Hey, Leonard. So, I walk outside and I just squish, 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 in the grass or anything. Hey, Douglas. Okay. Well, I'll be here for a while. I can't go outside much. It's raining. Conrad, glad you're here. Yeah, that's okay. I got it. That's okay, Leonard. Tim is supposed to get 48 inches on Wednesday in Michigan. Well, I can tell you, we have had so much rain. If you looked at, I did that video last week on the steering column for the Brooklyn Pony. And in that one scene, I'm filming down looking at the old steering box, steering column, and what's left of the old car. And it's just, you can just see water underneath, where the front end of that car is. And that's how it is everywhere. And it's just crazy. And there's a place, if you were to look up, what is it? Stars Mill, okay, in Fayetteville, Georgia, or Fayette County, there's an old mill called Stars Mill, STARR' Mill. And there's videos that people are putting out there on the drone, because this mill has been around for a long, long time, and it's kind of a landmark in our county. And it's always, there's a friend of mine, Adam Cribbs. He posts a meme, it says, it's that guy from Lord of the Rings or something, I don't know. And it says, brace yourselves. And it says, Stars Mills flooding posts are coming. And so hey, Danny. So he always posts that. And so I went and searched on YouTube, and sure enough, I found from 2015 a flooding video of that place, and then even 2019 flooding. And I say flooding, but it's a mill. So they used to have a controlled waterway with a dam, and of course that would turn the mill. And the drop from the top of the dam to the next level, it's probably 8 or 10 feet, something like that. And now this previous video, the drop was only about maybe a foot, and it was the whole area around it, all the way around that old mill house and everything, was just water. And it makes you wonder sometimes, where does it go? It's got to go somewhere. But Robert, 70 and sunny here this afternoon while welding on the 66. Yeah, I would take 70 and sunny right now. I sure would. Douglas, power steering on my 68 was always loose. Yeah, they weren't. Did you now with that? Did you try to adjust the steering box, because there's an adjustment on there to tighten up the gears? You may have researched it, but there is a way to tighten up the box. Can't say I've never done a video on that, but that might be a good video to do. Hey Jack, glad you're here. And I have coffee tonight. It's a good night for coffee. Well, Douglas, you could always convert it to a power steering box. I did that Borgeson kit on my 68. Seemed to tighten things up. I don't know if you still have the original box or not, but that's one thing you could do. And of course, you can just replace the manual box if you have a manual box. Otherwise, there's not much, the rag joint and then tie rods, not much else you can adjust from there. But 6 to 12 inches in Colorado mountains. Not rain, though. I'm pretty sure there's going to be snow. Yeah. I was out, Leonard, I was out in Colorado 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks? I guess it has been 2 weeks already. And we did some snowmobiling up there at Leadville. So that was fun. I was out there with a buddy of mine and his wife, my wife, our, two couples went out there and just did a little sightseeing tour on the snowmobiles. And that was fun. I haven't ridden snowmobiles in at least 30 years. And so, hey, Sean. And of course, the modern snowmobiles are really cool because they have heated hand grips. Even the throttle was heated. They didn't have that when I was a kid. In fact, I'll go back as far as to give you hey, Carl, I'll give you an interesting bit of information. You may find it interesting, you may not. If you ever heard of a brand of snowmobile called Snow Pony, SNO-Pony was the name of them. And at one point, they were looking for distributors and, whatever, salesmen. And my dad decided to become a distributor or sales guy for that company. And what was interesting is, now that we're talking in the 70s, when snowmobiles were pretty archaic as far as design and what they did. But Snow Pony was trying to get ahead of the curve and make it useful, not just in the winter. So if you look up Snow Pony, you'll see these bright yellow snowmobiles. They had two different versions. And the smaller one, it just had this rounded looking, hood on it. And it was yellow and it had black on the sides. It was kind of a cool looking design. And then the better one was more like your modern looking snowmobile, where it had the tapered front end on it, stuff like that. Okay, hey Brian. Let me. Here's Brian's comment. Good to see you again. I've been a bit discouraged lately on my project. Could you tell us how you regain enthusiasm? That's a good question. Sometimes I do get frustrated, and I do get sidetracked, or get delayed, and different things like that. And for me, I have to step back and maybe attack something else. And it may be a simple thing, like the steering column I did last week. Now, granted, I wasn't in a point where I was in a point of frustration, but that steering column was pretty rewarding in that I was able to do it, and it didn't take, I didn't have to cut up things and modify and cut a hole in the firewall and, get crazy with it. So being able to put that together and see it work, that was a pretty rewarding thing. So you might want to look at backing up a little bit and find something that you know, and I'm not going to say attack something easy, but if you make progress on something that's not, say, as challenging, it kind of gives you a little more positive feeling. You know, you kind of trick yourself in a way. You sit there and you go, oh, well, I could just put the taillights in and see what they look like. Why not? Put them in, see what happens, you know? Or I could do this or do that, put the door handles on. You know, something that may be considered small, but it gives you a different perspective on that car or that project, because you're like, okay, that does look good. So now I can keep on cranking, you know, and it might encourage you to just do some other things. So hopefully that's a good way to look at it. Carl, I'm struggling with the torque boxes on a 68 coupe. I saw the one video but didn't show them in place. I am grateful for all your help in my father-son project. You know, I have several. If you've gone to, Carl, if you go to my Jade playlist, you know, I think I did several videos on taking out the torque boxes and putting them in. So on the 68. So there is a video with them in place. I know that. And you just have to follow the sequence. So look at the Jade videos, you know, and kind of follow along on the playlist. So just know that. The other thing you could do is, if you go to the Brooklyn Pony, I did a very specific torque box installation on the Brooklyn Pony. So you can look at that as well, and that might give you some reference and help you with that project. Yeah, Robert, small accomplishments really do help out. You know, and like I said, it's kind of like anything you do. If you're, you know, trying to clean up your house, or you're trying to, like for me, you know, I always feel like, and I know I get comments that sure, Carl, you know, like to me, my garage is a mess all the time, and it really is, you know, but to some people it looks great, and they're not seeing all of it at one time like I do, and occasionally I just have to stop. Hey, Danny, thanks for the thumbs up, man. Occasionally I have to just stop and start cleaning things, you know, because clutter slows you down. Hey, David. Oh, David and Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl, glad you're here. Yeah, Tim, split the box in half. That torque box, you're going to have to take it apart if you're looking at that. That's a good comment. You get a ding, Tim. There you go. You get the bell. But, you know, occasionally I have to stop and just backtrack and stop working on things and just start getting rid of stuff, cleaning up the space that I'm working in. And then once I see a clean bench or, you know, clean work table or whatever, tools all put away and cleaned up, then I kind of feel better about it. And I'm like, okay, I can go back in there now and start doing things. Because it's you know, it's easy. Like I have my welding cart and stuff like that. And I'll pile up all my clamps, you know, my vice grips. They'll be piled up on there. I'll have air tools piled on there. I'll have markers and all kinds of stuff. And then it's like, I got to stop and just clean off the toolbox or clean off the welding cart, put all the clamps back in place, make them look nice, straighten things out. Okay, now I can move forward and keep going. So that may help. Yeah, Robert. You know, there's times where I just want to clean everything. I start throwing stuff away. Get it out of here. I don't want it in my way. Leonard, building a utility trailer, and I'm almost done with it, and I'm looking forward to getting back to work on my Torino. Good. That's good to hear. Robert, if I haven't used it in 5 years, I don't remember having it, so it's time for it to go. Yeah. I wish I was that good, but sometimes I can't even make that decision. Dave and Cheryl, we looked at our Mustang, and we only have half a torque box. Now, when you say that, do you mean you only have half of one, or you only have one torque box? Because some cars only came with one torque box. So just know that going in. I mean, it's possible it could have rusted off, but some cars only came with, I believe, the passenger side torque box. So just know that. Yeah, but it's better to put them both in. You want that thing solid. Let's see. Tyler, cleanses the mind and soul. Yep. And I'm going to assume, because it says Tyler, that really means Ted. I'm assuming. I could be wrong, but I think that means Ted. And if that is Ted, your video did great. If you haven't seen it yet, Ted submitted a video on his 68 Mustang Fastback up in Connecticut. So check that out if you haven't seen it. He's doing a great job on that project. Let's see. Leonard, there's a dirty 4-letter word. We call it fluffy white rain. Or white fluffy rain, yeah. Yeah, I don't need any of that. GM guy, I'm getting rid of a few things, too many toys and a few mechanical breakdowns. I said that's enough. Yep, I've done it. Got to clean up. Brian, good advice. If I could hang my parts car in the wall out of the way, it would help. Yeah, I understand that. Sean, Barry, I call that resetting my garage to zero. That's a good way to look at it. And I still have, there's all kinds of junk in here. I've got like a, sitting up here, and not that it's in my way, but sitting up here on my speakers for my stereo is a digital police scanner. Okay, I bought it at a yard sale for like $2. It's brand new. It's never been turned on, but I don't have the power cord, so I've never used it. It's still, look, I'll get it. Look, I'll show you. Hold on. Look at this thing. This is a Radio Shack. You see that? Those numbers? That's a sticker. This thing has never, ever been turned on. And it's sitting up on my shelf. And every time I see it, I keep thinking, I should plug that in, But I don't have a plug for it, or I don't have an antenna either. But there it sits. It's one of those things. I could probably get rid of it, and it wouldn't matter because I'll probably never use it anyway. But maybe I should do a subscriber giveaway. See how many people are interested in old police scanners never been turned on. Yeah, Leonard, I wish I could send some rain that way. Let's see. David and Cheryl had two, but this it's rusted off. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I have videos on there to show you how to fix it. So you have to just get in there and do it at some point. I know it doesn't happen overnight. Carl, in the video segments, do you show the new torque box without the new floor on top of them? Well, you just have to look at the videos. I don't remember. Those videos are from 2000. The 68 videos are from, 2013 or 14? I don't really remember. I know I had to do a variety of things because I put new. You have to just look. I can't remember exactly right now. Let's see. Robert, IIRC 68, 67, 68-ish hardtops only had the passenger side. Verts had both. Yeah, there you go. Hey, Brian. Glad you're here. Hey, Dave. Yeah, Douglas, breaker 19, breaker 19. You get a bell for that. Okay. Brian. Well, that's just lazy. Yeah, it is. I get distracted. We all get distracted. And, you start looking at things. Oh, that would be cool to have. Is it? So, Leonard, okay, now I feel old. I had one. We got it used. Grandfather called Old Yeller for fishing. Old Yeller for fishing. Okay. Andrew Smith, number 34. How are you tonight? Do the A-pillars plug weld to the inner and outer, or is there a piece underneath them? Let me think here. There's a split line on the A-pillar. So you've got the shell of the A-pillar, and then the kick board or the toe board, or the sideboard, kick panel. And I think the kick panel goes in and the A-pillar butts over it. There's some other inner structure up on the top where all the dash comes together. But I don't know if that answers your question or not. Because there is some overlap for all those pieces when they come together for the dash. And there's a piece up on top where I believe where it turns. And then the windshield, frame kind of all comes together. I don't know if it's the same. I did a video on a 70 Mustang sports roof years ago at the body shop. and I know I rebuilt part of that. And I don't know if it's exactly the same, but you could look at that video maybe, because I had to put pieces in to get it back together. It might give you some insight into that, but I don't remember specifically without pulling one, having it in my hands. Sorry. Um, Brandon, when doing a rebuild, when do you decide you will replace a cowl versus treating the rust and or sleeving it? Since th since things are somewhat torn apart, trying to decide if I should go ahead and replace it. Well, that's a very good question. Um, if you've already got it apart and you can tell the condition of it, that's going to be your deciding factor. Are the towers gone? Is the inner structure there? Is it solid? Or is it just a tower? There's, variations. For me, I would rather replace that thing and be done with it. I don't want to play around with trying to rebuild this piece or that piece. I did some of that on other projects, and I didn't like the end result, because you end up with weld seams, and that could create a water trap as well. I would rather have a nice clean bottom area so that the water can get out if it ever gets in there. So just think of it that way. And also it gives you a chance when you get the lower cowl off, you can see what the condition of the upper firewall, and all that area. You might have some issues there too. So I like to get things out of the way, and if I can put a new piece in, I want to put a new piece in. Yes, Heath, thank you. Jade, I like my Jade videos. Dale, hi Barry, have you ever replaced rear torque boxes and rails on a 65? I have not. And I probably, I don't know, I guess I haven't had that presented to me. The other cars I've done, the Mystique Mustang, it was solid in the back. The light blue Mustang I did years ago, it was all rotted to pieces, so I couldn't do anything with it. I do know that it's a bit of a challenge to get all that apart, the torque box and the rail and all that stuff, but I have not done a video specifically on that. Let's see. Okay, Andrew. Leonard, Barry, does that I did at column have a collapsible shaft? It doesn't have a collapsible shaft, not internally. I can tell you that. It's a solid shaft. From what I can tell, the inner shaft goes in the center of the column is all solid, but the U-joints are going to act as your collapse joint. If you were to get in an impact, the U-joints are going to give and allow that shaft to change direction. Unlike the original 65, 66, which will just stab you in the head. Just saying. That's the truth. Let's see. Jack Myers. My name is Jack Daddy. I don't own a car. Long story, but I think it's great what you can do with vehicles. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Jack. That's a good comment. Thank you. And you get a bell. Andrew, front apron is tucked in behind it also, looking at down by the rocker. Front apron. Yeah. Well, the front apron butts into, you're talking about the fender apron. It'll butt into the firewall. So if we're talking about the yeah, down by the rocker. I'm not sure about that, because you get the front apron tucks into the firewall, and the firewall outboard has the A-pillar, and the front apron stops on the top of the frame rail and the firewall. So unless you're talking about the kickboard or kick panel on the left, on the side. Carl, I've been a police officer for a long time. You're not missing anything from the radio. Yeah, I know. I just, sometimes you just kind of want to have something that entertains you. But yeah, I'll probably never use the thing, but it sure looks neat sitting up there on my speaker. There you go, Carl. Andrew has sent you a link. All right, Cheryl, we'll see you. 3X Xena. Hey, Barry, do you find yourself spending way too much time looking at things and checking measurements before you commit to the repair? Sometimes hours pass for me, second guessing my decisions. I don't find myself like getting overburdened with that, and I think it is a lot because of experience. I tend to do some measurements on whatever I'm doing. Let's say I'm using a reference car or taking something apart, and I'll do measurements and I'll write those down on a piece of tape, and I'll make a little drawing so I have my own reference so I know what I'm doing. And I may do that measurement 3 or 4 times just to make sure, because I don't want to, you don't want to do it twice or, cut something off and be, oh, wait a minute, I was off an inch. So I just kind of do that. I write down the measurement, make a little drawing. Okay, that's good. And then when I, work my way out and come back in, I know that I can measure from that point to that point. I don't stress over it that bad. It's just the way I am. Brian, hey, this is my 3rd comment. What's it? Sorry, my mouse is blocking it. This is my 3rd comment. What's it take to get a bell around here? I can't beg. I'm not sure what your other comments were. I can't remember. I had to look back and see what your other comments were. Oh, I thought I gave you one for the lazy. No, I didn't give you one for the lazy. All right. Brandon, to all who need parts, CJ's is running a great leap year sale. Actually, I think it's 29% off. I got the email today. Not 28. I think it's 29 for the leap year. But you get a bell for that. Let's see. Yeah, measure twice, cut once. Or measure 4 times and cut once. Let's see. Yeah, Jack Myers. Mustangs Unlimited out of business. That's what I'm hearing. We talked about this before. I have a friend who's a part shipper to Europe, and he was in contact with somebody who worked at Mustangs Unlimited, and the implication was that the owner was tired of running a business and decided he was just going to shut it down, sell off everything, and kill it. Rather than sell it to somebody else and let them run it, he didn't want to take the chance of the business dying under somebody else's name, something like that. So, that's what I'm hearing. Let's see. No bell begging. Yeah. Robert, I dry fit everything from the frame rails up to the fenders and hood to make sure it looks good before I started welding. That's the truth. And that's what I do too. I have people all the time ask me about measurements and measurements and measurements. And it doesn't, you're never going to duplicate. I say that, but truly it's going to be very difficult to duplicate the original weld, measurements of your car. Now, as we deal with these aftermarket parts and how they fit or don't fit, I'm more concerned with how the exterior looks when it's all together. So I would rather have, I think I had a conversation with Ted Vowell. He was worried about his aprons having issues with a gap. And I said, well, you just got to massage that apron up to make it fit the fender rather than other things. But what I was getting at was I try to make sure everything fits and lines up on the outside. Fenders, hood, whatever. And then I'll, may open up the hood or take the hood off or look inside and go, okay, well, this one's off this far. I need to move it over to get the holes to line up for the fender. Because you're not going to change the shape of the fender unless, or the mounting points for the fender unless you really go crazy with it. It's easier to adjust that apron and shift it around, or the core support, you know what I mean? So just think of it that way as to mocking up all the pieces. GM, you can get a police scanner in your phone nowadays. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but then you don't get that. I don't know. I would have a hard time just having my phone plugged in and listening to something going on there. But anyway, not that I need it. I should just get rid of the thing. It's not doing me any good. Yeah, measurements are, Robert, you're right. Measurements are good for getting you in the ballpark. Brian, have you any tricks for getting around shipping fees? Not really. I wish I did. In fact, I went today and I checked on shipping a couple of hats to Greg in Australia. That's a long way to ship something. And the price was $35 to ship two hats or one hat. same price because it was just a minimal weight change. But there's really not much you can do to get around the shipping stuff, you know, unless you order from Amazon, of which I have a link, and you know they do the free shipping, so-called free shipping. But I don't know what you're trying to order, but that's the difficulty with trying to get stuff out. I'm going to say, instead of Tyler, I'm going to say Ted. Had that feeling when I was at the store, the seats in Connecticut. In Connecticut, the hours were shorter, and some of the cars were for sale, and they were out of a lot of stuff. Yep, that's the impression I'm getting, and I'm so irritated, as I said before, because I've driven up to Mustangs Unlimited in Lawrenceville, Georgia, many times, and in fact, if you go back to, if you look at it, like I have pictures on Facebook. If you were to go back to the Brooklyn Pony, you know, I bought all the parts for that car and loaded up on my truck and trailer and brought them all home. So it saved me a ton, you know, on shipping, because otherwise it just kills you. But now I can't do that anymore. So, let's see. Brian, hey, was just a joke. I don't even know what the bell means. All right, Brian. I started doing on my first live back in January, I think, or whatever it was. I mentioned that if I were to make what I feel is a good comment, you know, on something, or answer a question or whatever, I said I need a bell so I can, you know, get a little notification out of that. And then I also said that if anybody on the channel makes a good comment or answers a question or helps somebody out, they get a bell. So that's what that is. That's why. And then I think it's Brian and Cheryl actually sent me a bell, you know, to help me out with this. So that's what the bell means. So it's just a good way to give a, you know, kind of an attaboy type of thing, you know. Yeah, Jack, don't forget to thumbs up, people. Yes, please do. You know, if you like these live events and it's helping you out with your project or whatever, throw a thumbs up on here, because it helps the whole algorithm for YouTube. You know, it helps the channel, it helps me. So just throw a thumbs up on here and be done with it. Let's see. Where am I at? Back up a second. Carl, your videos and the people are so helpful. Keeps my son and I on track. You're an easy person to learn from. Well, good. I'm glad to hear that, Carl. You know, I try to explain things and show things and be as honest as I can, because otherwise I'm just not only cheating, you know, myself, I'm cheating you. So that's no benefit to that. The Aussie dollar is bad now. Yeah, wish I could help with that. I don't know. There's nothing we could do here, I guess. I don't know. Brian, I was about to order some parts from CJ, a trunk lid, and some small sheet metal, and it was over $200 shipped to Florida. Yeah, unfortunately, unless you find some sort of a special rate, you know, for discount. However, you might check with, I don't know if you have a Summit Racing down there in that area, but I know Summit sells sheet metal too, so that might help. Or, and I don't know if I have it listed, but if you go on the Amazon page that I have, Joe Daddy's Garage on Amazon, I have parts listed that are Dynacorn parts. So I don't know if you're looking at that or not, and I can't tell you the quality of that Dynacorn trunk lid, honestly, because I haven't used one. However, there might be an option for a shipping discount or something on there. So just check it out. You know, any of my videos, I have an Amazon link in the description, and if you click on that and go to the, you know, check it out, I have different things listed on my page, and one of them is parts. So you might be able to help you there. I don't know. The only other person I know you could contact is Ron Wolf. I know he does drop shipping of parts, and I don't know how to get you a contact with him, but Ron he's got a shop up in, I don't know, Midwest somewhere, and he's a Dynacorn dealer, so he might be able to help you out with that. So you'd have to look him up on Facebook, and it's Ron, WOLFE. Might be able to help you out there. Let's see. Oh, I'm missing a question back here. Ricky, do you only do Mustangs? Well, at this point, that's what I'm doing. Now, I've done other cars. You know, if you go back to my earlier videos, you know, I had a partner in a body shop, and we did all kinds of stuff there, all kinds of cars. And as that went away, and I came, you know, started working on cars again at my home shop. You know, I did work on, you know, '68 Camaro here, several different Mustangs, some work on a Chevelle, different things like that. So I mean, I could work on anything, and I don't want to. I'm not going to put myself in a box that says I'm just a Mustang guy or just a Camaro guy or whatever, because my background's pretty extensive. I'm a car guy. That's just the way I look at it. It just happens that I have more Mustangs than anything else at the moment. And I do have a Camaro waiting in the wings for me to work on, but that's going to be a while. Let's see. Where am I at? I got Carl, are the Dynacorn doors the best way to go? Maybe. I mean, I've had issues with the doors I have on the Brooklyn Pony, but I've had other doors that I ordered while they were from Mustangs Unlimited, and they were more generic, but they fit pretty well on that blue Mustang that I did, the light blue Mustang I did several years ago. But I can't tell you that they're the best for your car. I know they claim to be the best, and they're probably, you know, they probably are better built than most others. But you know, I can't say 100% for sure, because it seems like all these aftermarket parts, some of them will fit one car great, and then the next one doesn't fit hardly at all. So, wish I had a better answer. Let's see, Robert, Brian Johnson, check NPD as they're in Florida, a little more money, but their parts are good quality. Well, there you go. Check NPD. There you go, Robert. You get a bell. Leonard, when I was taking out the rear seat, I found some rust, and when the guy had quarter glass, they left the broken glass, and it caused the lower panel to rust. What a pain. Yeah. You know, that was a shame of it, because if there was an accident or something happened, or, you know, nobody would clean out all that old glass, you know, and it became a trap as well, water, whatever. And I remember even at my dad's junkyard, we'd find cars, we'd, you know, take something apart, and you'd see old glass in the bottom of the door, or somebody, whatever, shattered it, or if it was partway down and something hit it and it all broke inside, they wouldn't clean any of that stuff out, you know. Of course, you do it at a body shop, you got to clean everything out, or else it'll make a noise and people will complain. So, Tyler or Ted, just something nostalgic about buying the parts from a human and not online. Very much true. And, you know, it's at some point there was a guy that I connected with at the Mustangs Unlimited in Lawrenceville, and every time I would go in there, you know, he knew I was there, and I would wait for him, and we would talk and figure things out. So it was really nice to have that communication with that person. But you're right, it's nice to talk to somebody about something, and it's nice if they actually know what you're asking them or what you're talking about, rather than flipping through a catalog and saying, well, there's one, you know. But there's something nice about that. Brian, hey, no begging for thumbs. Yeah. The snowmobile. Oh yeah, I got to get back to the snowmobile. Let's see. Thank you, Eastern. Thank you for the thumbs up. Let's see. Carl, there are two makers of the 65, 66 doors. One has slightly thicker metal than the other has better embossing of the texture on the door. Both similar fit. There you go. Robert answered that question. Gerspoon. That's a different name. I discovered your channel a couple of days ago, and it's incredible. I'm trying to start my first project, and I'm looking for a first-gen vert. Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you found the channel. You know, the numbers are growing on the channel, and I've already documented that. And, you know, see that hat? There you go. Chip Foose. Anyway, you know, and things are getting better, and I did a giveaway on the hat, and so that's that's probably gonna get shipped out tomorrow. But yeah, I'm glad you're here. There's plenty of videos. Keep looking. You know, don't forget to throw a thumbs up, like, share, whatever. I don't know how that works for that. I don't even know if you could share videos anymore. As far as sharing it, I mean, you can share it as a link. I think it used to be on, like, what they had, Google Plus, whatever it was. You could share directly to Google. I think Google Plus. I used to have a page on there, and now apparently all that's gone. So, uh, Gary, I'm waiting for the Camaro too. Yeah, I know. I got to get the pony car done. I got to get the Brooklyn Pony done. We'll see what happens next. You know, there's lots of options. You know, I've probably said it before, but I get lots of emails and lots of phone calls or messages or um, contact on Facebook and different things offering me projects. And I wish I could do all those projects. I really do, but I can't. You know, I'm still a one-man operation, and I don't really see that changing. You know, I know I've had somebody on here last week who was saying, "Hey, you could hire in some of the followers on a page and get them working for you." You know, that would that there's a I mean that might possibly work, but I just don't know that I want to deal with all of it. You know, in that big scope anymore. But I could easily have a huge shop full of Mustangs and probably be, you know, living large. I don't know. This is a lot less stressful. um, Leonard, one, let's see, one trade fits all. That about says it all. Your work says it all. Well, thank you, Leonard. Yep. Thumbs up, guys. Fair enough. Carl, Thomas, we got Automotive Direct Warehouse and year one in Gainesville. Yeah, I know. I love Autometal Direct. I've had tremendous luck with their products. I wish they made stuff for Mustangs, but I've had a conversation with them, and they can't do it. Uh, you know, it's you know, it's a profit margins aren't there because the market is flooded with the Chinese Taiwan parts, so they can't make a part cheap enough to make money on it. So we talked about that last week. Um, it's all good, GM guy. It's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. Um, let's see, Abigail Mack, or you could start a class. Well, yeah, I could. I don't know. I don't know how I could do that. You know, the only revenue that I get from this standpoint is from YouTube. I've got some people that donate to me on Patreon, which is fantastic, and I make some revenue off of Amazon, which I've mentioned before. Um, and I've thought about the idea. I had a conversation with several people over the years. One of the ideas that I had, and I had it with a friend actually, was to have a big warehouse type shop and have people bring their projects and kind of supervise them. Let them have a workspace that they would pay rent for, and then also, you know, some help in the process, and just kind of oversee what they're doing, you know. But with the scope of it, you know, and this is global. What I'm doing here, it would have to be confined to, you know, a certain area. So it's really hard to do that. You know, people aren't going to travel 200 miles to come work on their own car when they can do it at their garage and watch some videos. But I was trying to think of different ways to do it, but I don't know. Uh, Robert, I get as much done as I can in the winter since the summers are so hot. Also bought a 70 El Camino at the swap meet last weekend. Got to get her Mustang on wheels before I test her patience. Yeah. Well, good for you. Yeah, like hands-on. Yeah, that would be nice. I wouldn't. I mean, I don't. I wouldn't have really an issue with that. It's just hard coming up with a way to make that happen. Brian, as far as shipping, car clubs are a great resource. If you're a member, often there is a member near where you're buying that will be willing to pick it up and bring it to the next club meet. That's true too. You know, there are times where I'm on different Facebook pages and different things, and I know I've even done it for people. If I'm traveling somewhere, and I'll let them know ahead of time, hey, if you want something picked up, let me know, and I'll bring it back this way and drop it off. You know, I had a '72 Chevy guy. I bought a truck roof from a guy in, like, I don't know, Minnesota or something, and that roof went like through 3 different sets of hands, and it came to me then, you know, and everybody just kind of, they were already on that route. They just threw it in the back of their truck, and, you know, it's kind of cool. So there are ways you can do that too. Ricky, I do 67 through 69 Camaros. Love your videos. Cool. Glad you're here. Appreciate that. Canadian Marauder. Yeah, I want to say one man operation two. Don't need some non-car Yahoo telling me how to fix their car. Yeah, I don't run into that, thankfully, and I don't have anybody who really goes that route with me. They know me well enough that they could just leave their car with me and kind of walk away. But uh, Jack W, his videos are a class. I learned from every one of them. Cool. Thanks, Jack. I appreciate that. And that's really, I guess, the mindset is, try to make it a teaching video, as I've said before. It's if in my earlier videos that I did back at the body shop, they weren't like that. It wasn't really meant to be that way. It was more like, hey, here's this camera. Here it is with the battery. Here it is sitting. It wasn't showing the actual process. So I've learned a lot, and I like doing it the way that I do it now, because you think about it. Try not to think about it, I guess, but I talked a few weeks ago, about visiting my uncle who was in the military and basically on his deathbed, and he has passed. So whatever memories I have of him are just in here, and maybe a random set of pictures here and there. And I've talked with this as well with my buddy Tim up in Massachusetts. He has RC Guy Garage. Now Tim, he started his channel and he was trying to do things where working on cars and doing different things. And one of the comments or one of the conversations we had was he likes the idea of making videos so that someday, his kids or his grandkids or his great grandkids could see who he was and the kind of person he was and what he did and how he lived and those sort of things. So in a way, depending on how long the earth lives, I could be existing on the internet for millennia, and people could be, I'm not, can't say we'll have Mustangs that long, but, or other cars, but at least that way there's my family or my grandkids or great grandkids can go, tell me about him. And they go, click, here he is. Here's some of the stuff he did. So it's kind of neat to think of it that way, but it's also kind of sad to think that, someday I'll be gone. And you'll be watching this video and you're going, look, he was prophetic. He was telling the truth. Let's see, Leonard, yeah, you're already teaching it just online. Yeah. Now, if I could only, be like a college and charge you a ridiculous amount of money for these lessons, there's professors out there to make $500,000 teaching you English literature. I don't know. To me, this kind of stuff is inherently more valuable. This is stuff you're not going to learn in a classroom. This is stuff you're not going to learn just from reading a book. When you see the hands-on, you see the action, you see what happens, and the end results, you've learned something. And I'm a visual learner. I don't like to read. I've probably seen it in my when I show some videos where I'm looking at the instructions and I'm like, man, I'll figure it out. But I love to do things and just get my hands dirty and solve the problem. It's just the way I'm geared. Jack Myers, reality car repair, you would have to have them argue, fight, and so forth. Yeah. And thankfully I've got all of my friends that I do work for. They've known me for a long, long time. And so they just bring me the car. What's wrong with it? This is what's wrong with it. I'm going to fix it. Okay. Let us know what's done. They trust me. And I like that. Ricky Lynn Wolf. I love to take my son's 2050 Mustang out when I want to put the pedal down, but I'm a Chevy Nova girl. Mustangs are sweet, though, must say. Yeah. It's any of these old cars are really just cool. And it doesn't matter what it is. I saw an ad on Facebook for a 65 Impala station wagon with like 70,000 miles on it. You know how hard it is for me to not go buy that car? And it's a patina blue V8, and it's all there, and it doesn't look like it's rusted out. And I'm just like, oh, that car is such an iconic car, the 65 station wagon, But then I have to have a reality check and go, where would I put it? When would I have time to work on it? You know, that's where it hurts. Um, let's see. I've got Creek Auto Funeraria. Funeraria. Uma boa noite. I don't know what that means, but okay. I can't translate here. George, you're awesome. Thanks for the videos. Yep, you're welcome. Ted, it's your legacy. Yeah, it is really. I mean, other than my my grandson that I have now, which I've mentioned before. My coffee's getting cold. Hold on. Robert, sorry, I have been lagging on redoing my video. Every time I get out to the shop, I think I need to film. Then I start working on the car. Yep, I understand that. Dave, you get your own ding for your lessons or farmer value. Okay, I get a ding. Heath, Barry, have you ever used the Black Hawk Easy Strip disc? Just ordered some. I have not used the Black Hawk brand, so can't say good or bad on that. Jason, do you think it's impossible to tackle a project car with zero experience welding? Well, do I think it's impossible? No. Do I think it'll take some effort? Yep. You know, you can learn how to weld. You know, I taught myself how to weld when I was a kid. When I was like 11, I started welding with a 220 stick welder, putting together stuff, and it progressed eventually into MIG and that sort of thing. But as long you can learn how to weld. There are videos online, videos on YouTube that'll show you how to weld. And even some of my videos, I try to show you the detail enough to show you how to weld. Once you learn that and get a little finesse and a little feeling for how the thing operates, it's just a matter of taking your time and being patient with your project. Don't expect it to be done in a week, like on a TV show where you don't see the 72 guys that are working on it constantly to get the car done, to get it back to the owner and say, oh, look at this. If you're doing it by yourself, take your time. In fact, if you're looking at some inspiration, check out Grease Rookie channel. Go look at his stuff. He's doing a 66 Mustang coupe by himself, straight 6-car, and it's pretty cool to watch him as he's learning, because he's doing sheet metal work right now. He's trying to get to that point, and he's working on learning how to weld. So you might want to check out stuff like that and see, you might learn something from his mistakes and his successes. But check out his channel as well. Let's see. Donnie, Barry, sorry so late. I was flapping my gums about a 2022 KOH campaign. Well, I'll let it slide this time, Donnie. Bob, luck would have it someone would set something on fire welding. Honestly, I remember when I was a kid, my dad was underneath a car in our garage welding something together, and he caught on fire. And I'm like tapping him on the shoulder. I was like 5 or 6 years old. Dad, his pants were on fire. I'm tapping him on the shoulder. Hey, Dad, what? I'm like, Dad, what? You're on fire. So he gets out from under the car, and he yells at me for not putting him out. Imagine that. We had water jugs down in the garage for drinking water, and he kind of yelled at me because I didn't just grab a water and start throwing it on him. I'm like 6 years old. How am I supposed to know what to do? Let's see. Robert, there was a 4-door 69-inch Dodge truck at the swap meet last weekend. It was already sold, and I forgot to take a pic. Dodge, yeah, 4-doors trucks are rare, but they made a bunch of them, but they're hard to find now because you look at the timeline, you're talking 50 years roughly, since they produced them. But yeah, they were out there. Robert, welding is one thing, welding auto body is another animal that most welders don't attempt. Yeah, I will say that. I've and I'm not saying I'm an expert at anything, On my other channel, on my Joe Daddy's Workshop, I think I comment in the opening, I said, I'm not a professional. I consider myself an amateur with a ton of experience. You know, because there's always something you can learn. You know, even though you got guys like Chip Foose, you know, yeah, you'd consider him top of his game for doing some of this, you know, this stuff, but I'm sure there's something he might see it at an event or somewhere and go, you know what, I never thought of that. So there's always things you can do, but I try to learn everything I can from different things. You know, I've built things. You know, I got a point in time where I started making like cigar box guitars just because I wanted to. So I did all the research on them, figured out about making the length of the neck and, you know, all these different things and how they made them back in the early days when they first started making them and all those sort of things. And I learned a lot from that. And I still have that knowledge, but it doesn't really help me. But I'm just saying, you know, you can learn new things. But you're welcome, Andrew, by the way. But I just like to do everything. It doesn't matter if it's swapping out a camshaft or doing body work or welding or paint. I just like the whole process. Tim Bowman. Yeah, Andrew will tell you it's a 65.5. Yeah, you're right, Tim. And he found some interesting stuff on that video where he started cutting on that quarter panel. Leonard, Ted said that he's using Flux. Oh, yeah. I can't say the word now because it says flex, and I can't get my mind off of that. Flux. Flux core on his Mustang. And that's what I'm using. Yeah, it's messy, but it gets the job done. Yeah, it does. And I'm just not, you know, for me, I don't want to use flux core on sheet metal. I just can't. You know, I've got my MIG set up. I've got my bottle, you know, and that's just the way I'm going to do it. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously he can do it and you can do it. But I prefer the gas. Just, it makes it so much easier in my opinion and clean, and I just like it that way. Carl, the Lincoln MP250 is an awesome machine to learn welding. Well, there you go. You know, Lincolns make good welders. I've been using this Lincoln 140T for a long time now. At some point, I'll probably upgrade, but that's just how it is. Ted, I think it's like painting where preparation is 90% of the job. Yeah, you're right. And that's the thing I've talked about before. You know, I get frustrated, you know, because here I was, like at the body shop, you know, I was what we could call the heavy hitter. You know, I was doing collision repair, doing frame pulls, reconstructive welding, body work, everything up to the paint. And then you get the car done, or like you do a classic car or something, and it gets painted. Well, the people look at it and says, "Wow, that's a great paint job." You go, "Well, yeah, but you should have seen it before when it didn't have any paint on it, what it took it to get to that point." Because, as I've said before, paint job is only as good as the prep work underneath it. You can be the best painter in the world, but if that car has waves and crinkles and dents and dings, it doesn't matter. You can make a shiny looking car, but nobody's going to like it because it's all, you know, mangled. But it's got to have the underside. Everything's got to be just right for the paint job to look good. Let's see. Jason, best of luck to you, Ricky. Yep. Brian, for your information, I recently tried a citrus stripper on my project. It did remove the polyester primer, but it did nothing to the factory enamel. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Michael, hey Barry, do you have any videos installing Fender supports? You talking about the inner, like the rain guards? Fender supports. Are we talking about a Mustang? That's the only thing I can think about is the Fender, the rain shields. And I do have a video on that if that's what you're asking me. If you go back to the light blue Mustang, it's 2014, so I think is the range. Look up the playlist on that. I not only have a video on those, but I did a video on everything installing. I actually installed the rubber strips. I bought the kit to where it was pieces, and I put it all together to make it fit rather than buy one that was off the shelf. I'm pretty sure I did it that way. Yeah, pretty sure. But if you look at in Light Blue Mustang playlist, I do have it on there. So check that out. Um, Robert, I don't want to be the very best at one thing. I like being able to do everything to a competent level. There are too many things I want to do. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Um, and I've talked about it before. It's all about the details. If you get the details right, you can make it everything kind of look good. Um, Danny, what size bottle do you use? I don't know what the measurement is. I don't know how to tell you a capacity. The bottle I use is right there, and it's about 3 feet tall, maybe 40 inches. Because when I built that cart, I didn't want to have the super tall bottle. So you've got, the little bottle is like 18 inches, and then you've got the mid size, which is like 3 feet, and then you got the tall one, which is 5 feet. I use a 3-foot one. It's just easier to handle because if I take it in my car or something to get it exchanged, I don't have to fight with a great big bottle. It just makes more sense for me. So let's see. Ricky, thanks, Jason. I have someone coaching me in the welding. Good. That's good to hear. Danny, I have the knee-high one on, thinking of upgrading. Yeah. Like I said, I use the 3-foot one. I don't like that shorter one. It burns, runs out too fast. I just don't like that tall one. Okay, Michael. Good. I'm glad that answers your question. Donnie, Jason Painter, take a look at the fabrication series on YouTube. You may find some help there. There you go. Okay. Ricky Lynn, I did my son's fenders. Well, I'll just give you a bell for that, Ricky. That was an easy bell. I know. But I'm trying to inspire Ricky, Let's see, Robert. Danny still I have an 85 cubic feet and looking at getting a 320 cubic feet. Gas is cheaper in bigger bottles. Yeah, that's true. I just, for me, it's more convenient to have the smaller or the mid-size one. Okay, got a break. I'm going to go back to the snowmobile story. I started off earlier. So anyway, I was talking about these snow pony snowmobiles, and my dad became a distributor for them. And I think the only reason he really did it was because he wanted to own them, and by being a distributor, you got the discount, so you could resell them. So he got them at base price or whatever. And I think I know he had at least one of each, and maybe he had 2 of each. And what was really cool about these snow pony snowmobiles is they converted into a 3-wheeler. Now think about that. The first 3-wheelers came out in, late 70s. The little Honda 90 was really the first 3-wheeler. And the snow pony, what they did is they took off you could take off the skis on the front. I'm pretty sure, yeah, skis. I think, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think the bigger version had 2 skis. And I can't remember for sure. Maybe it only had 1 ski on the smaller version. I don't remember exactly. But anyway, it had a center post where you could unbolt it and take out the ski, and you could mount a wheel, a single big fat wheel. It was like 8 inches wide, right? In the back, you took out the carry axle in the back, the dummy axle that just kept the big belt in place, had teeth on it, so it could, rotate. And you put in a straight axle that had the teeth on it, had like cogs, and you bolted that in the back, and it stuck out like 12 inches on either side of the snowmobile. And you put these tires on. They were literally like 10 inches wide, and they were almost like slicks. And you could turn your snowmobile into a 3-wheeler. And if you go to look up, snow ponies, you'll see these things. And it was really cool, but it's kind of hard to envision that compared to like a Honda 3-wheeler, which was small and kind of nimble. This was the bulk of a snowmobile, all steel back then. They didn't make anything out of aluminum. So you had this big, steel snowmobile, and then you had this, this big axle. And the axle, it was literally probably outside wheel to outside wheel, at least 4 feet, maybe even closer to 5. I know it was huge. And so we had some of those, and we rode them, and it was just one of those weird things that they created in the 70s. You know, there's all kinds of weird stuff that they were coming out with at that time period. Or you could mail order just about anything, you know, and people, they would send you all kinds of weird stuff. You could, if you go back in old catalogs and you'll see these old mail order things, you know, you could like mail order a car or something. You could mail order a house from Sears. You know, they would send you a house. Really interesting stuff. But anyway, uh, if you get a chance, look up those snow ponies and see what the story is behind those. Uh, let's see. Brian, when I was learning to weld, I spent more time on grinding discs than I did on rod. Yeah, that's very true. Danny, thank you, Robert Adams. I'm just going to upgrade to the mid-size bottle. Yeah, good call. Leonard just bought a new Hobart 140 and it came with a CO2 regulator, so gas is coming. That's a good call. Robert looked up the Snow Pony and the 3-wheel kit pick looked pretty cool. Yeah, it looked pretty. Yeah, I mean it was. It was a really neat idea. Now it would have been even cooler if you could have like shortened it up. But I mean, it's the length of a snowmobile. And you know, later on, I think my brother ended up taking one of the axles, or he took the tires from one of those, and he and his buddies built a go-kart. And this go-kart was an old racing go-kart, kind of heavy chassis looking thing. And they modified it to take a Honda CB350 engine. So it had a CB350 mounted in the back, and then it had a drive axle, and it had those super wide tires on the back. That thing would fly. I mean, it would fly. And I know they got in trouble. They were racing it up and down the street in our little town, and I mean, they were hitting. I know that thing would hit speeds of like 80 miles an hour, pretty easy. And they were racing it up and down the town, and the cops didn't even. They saw them and went like, "Yep, okay," and they went straight to our place, and they told my brother, tear it apart and never drive it again, and we'll let it go. So that was the last of the racing go-kart that my brother and his buddies created. Let's see. Ricky Lynn, I still have the original Honda 350 HP 1985 three-wheeler. Yeah. Well, you know, I had the 90 with the balloon tires. You know, that was my first three-wheeler. And then I had a 110, and then I had a 185. I think I skipped over the 125. I went to the 185, and then I had a 200 Big Red that I rode for a while, and then we got a 4Trax, the first generation of Honda 4Trax, which is like a tank. You know, they were not nimble and quick. They were meant for utility use. But yeah, they were fun. Robert Adams, Snow Pony 220C. There you go. Ricky, they were banned here in Maryland. Yeah, they banned. I forget what year they actually banned them. It was somewhere. I want to say mid to late 80s. They banned them. So they're still for sale. You can still find them. I could do a lot of tricks on them. You know, a lot of people don't understand the physics of riding a three-wheeler. You couldn't ride it like a motorcycle, or else you'd end up flipping the thing. But if you rode it like a three-wheeled vehicle, you'd have to learn to lean out instead of leaning into a turn. They were pretty easy to handle. So people just had a hard time adapting from the physics of it, you know, from riding like a motorcycle or a bicycle. Canadian Marauder, Snow Pony. I remember that. I knew a guy who was obsessed with and collects old snowmobiles. Snow Pony would be one of those. They are very rare anymore. I think there might still be one or parts of one up at my dad's junkyard, maybe, but it very rare, very, very rare, as far as I understand. Matt, so you were building Jade for your wife. Is she patient with the time it's taking for the other projects and putting it on the back burner? Yeah, she is. I mean, she knows how I am, and she knows that I'm going to do other things, and you know, it's not a priority. You know, and I honestly I don't know that she's going to want to drive it because it's probably going to have a lot of power, which I didn't plan for. I actually had a buddy build the engine for me, and I tried telling him I wanted it really stock, and he built it more of a hot rod type engine, not too much, but you know, but anyway, If she drives it, I'll be happy. If I drive her around in it, she'll be happy. So it's not a lot of pressure there. There's lots of things going on, and like I said, if she wants to drive it, that's fine. That's why I'm putting in AC, power steering, and power brakes. So it's easier for her to get around in. We'll see how that goes. Octagon looked it up, is interesting. Yeah, I'm telling you, snow pony was a cool concept. Gary, I was born in a Sears house that my dad and older brothers built. See, I was right. I get a bell for that. You could buy weird stuff. You could buy all kinds of weird stuff on catalogs. And it was just the way it was. Leonard, what you think about racing across the water with them in Iceland? I've seen videos of people doing that. If they want to do it, good for them. I'm not interested. If you're talking about the snowmobiles, racing across the water, yeah, not interested. But yeah. Ricky, I would have loved to have grown up in Barry's neighborhood. Well, it was different. I grew up out in the country in Pennsylvania, and my nearest neighbor was a mile away. And I've said it before. At one of these, I'm just going to talk about junkyard stuff. Crazy things that were built and, driven and whatever. And then maybe I'll just do it in segments, and maybe that's how this works. Here I am talking about the snow pony, and my dad having this stuff and different things. So maybe I'll just like do snippets as I go over the years or months or whatever this is, however this operates. Barry, Donnie, Barry, did you have a 77 ATC 90 with the steel wheels and fiberglass rear fenders? I don't remember if it was the 77. I know it had the balloon tires with the small center. It had because they made the wheels, they had steel wheels that were, big. And then the first version, though, had these balloon tires with just a very small center shaft that you could just put a bolt in or put a nut on, to put them together. I think it did have fiberglass fenders because I think they broke off, if I remember correctly. It was a real beater little three-wheeler. It had already been abused by the time I had it. And I think I cut the muffler off, and I took an old like a handlebar from a bicycle, and I rebent it. So I made like a straight pipe out the back. That thing it sounded crazy. Just this straight pipe coming off that little Honda 90 engine. Octagon, I wonder what they bring now on used market. I don't know. I haven't seen one since my dad had them, honestly. But very hard to find. Rayman, there's a guy who sells new old stock aircraft paint remover on eBay in quarts, but not cheap. Yeah, I'm sure. Brian, yes, before Nintendo there was real life. You get a bell for that. But you know what? I'm a Generation X guy, so I actually, grew up playing Nintendo. That was the first thing we did. Well, actually, Atari. I'd back that up. Atari 2600, playing all the little cartridge games. I spent hours with my buddy playing those games. And anyway, yeah, that was a long time ago. All right, Tim. We'll see you later. Matt, are any of your kids following in your footsteps in terms of cars, hot rods? Nope. They just don't seem to have the interest. My oldest son graduated from Georgia Tech. He's a mechanical engineer, and so that's fine. He's doing a good thing with that. My other son is pursuing other things. He is considering getting into aircraft maintenance. But I really could never get him to come out here in the garage. They told me years later they always felt intimidated by what I did and how, I guess my knowledge base and all that stuff. So unfortunately they didn't grasp onto it. But I know my younger son, he likes to drive my cars. And I've told him before, I said, you can't drive them unless you work on them. It's not how it works. Let's see. Brian, okay, thanks, Rain Man. Leonard, wrecking yards to some of us like babes in Toyland could spend a day that all day. Yeah, yeah, and I grew up with that, so um, I miss it all the time because it was just there was so many things you could do and be creative with. Um, Donnie, wow, that was the '76 that used to be famously in a James Bond film. The bad guys. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that James Bond movie where they were riding those. um, Rain Man, Brian just finished mine. Took me a week and a half to strip my '68 fastback. Okay, there you go. Robert, I had a T 199 4A. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, Robert. T. Is that under the Yamaha brand? I don't remember. Donnie, now that's not that you're a bad guy. Yeah. Octagon, does your dad still have the salvage yard? No. Unfortunately, it ended up going away. Let's put it that way. Um, my dad got out of it. My brother ran it for a while and then decided that he didn't want to do it anymore. So all the stuff ended up being. Good night, Rayman. Glad you were here. Um, so it's gone. There's a few oddball cars still there, but at one point it was 10 acres of land, 1,000 cars in it from the 30s all the way up into the 90s, and we had some really cool stuff there, but that's all gone. Leonard spent many hours playing Forger. Not sure what that one was. I know I played all the little, I don't remember, little blippy little dot characters you could jump around and do stuff with, but I don't remember the name specifically. Tut C, did you ever give away that Evercoat shirt? I did. Yeah, it was. I did. I posted it in the video. I don't remember which video it was, but. Oh, Robert, you're talking about a computer pro thing. Sorry, you lost me there. I thought we were on three wheelers there for a minute. A T 1994A. Okay, now I get you. Yeah, the T-shirt was given away, and just like the hat I gave away this past week, gone. Matt, maybe they'll come around someday. I'm an electrical engineer, but I've always been into cars. Yeah, it would be great. I wouldn't have it. I really wanted to. Growing up, or when they were growing up, I tried to get them out here in the garage. I used to build them stuff. Like I built a. This is goofy. I took half of a 20-inch BMX bike that was back end was busted up, and I took the back half of a gas-powered scooter, and I put the two together. So you had a 20-inch BMX steering wheel or handlebars and front wheel, and then a little like a. It was like a scooter, one of those gas-powered scooters you could stand on, and I mounted that in the back, and they used to ride around the yard and stuff like that. And I try to get them involved with building things and doing stuff, but different generation. I grew up with 3 channels on my TV, and it was either watch the news or something, or go outside and play, or learn something. I guess I don't know, but that's the way it is today. That's the way it's been for quite some time now. Okay, Robert, Texas Instruments crossed between Atari and a computer at the time. Okay, I got you. Jason, I grew up with a cousin 10 years older than me. We would find mowers, snowmobiles, motorcycles that people would throw away, and we would Frankenstein them to make something that ran. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was the fun part about it, Randall Heath, are aftermarket wheelhouses available for '67 Cougar? Are they substantially different from the Mustang wheelhouse? I don't know. I imagine they are different because the Cougar has, I think the wheel opening is a little more square, I think, at the top. So I'm going to say it's probably not going to be the same, and I can't say for sure if you could retrofit it, like do a redesign and cut and piece things together. I don't know. Wish I had a better answer, but I don't. Let's see, Brian, we only had video game that was the original Pong in '76. Yeah. I don't even think we had Pong. I don't remember playing Pong. I mean, I played it at some point and maybe at a friend's house or something like that. But, and not that I had any video games. My buddy had the Atari system. And so, we'd play that. I think Missile Command was one of them. I don't know. But it was I think asteroids. Of course, I love the asteroids on our upright game, but anyway. Octagon, that's a shame. Yeah, they don't last forever. You're right. Oh, left the message and pulled it off. That's okay. Oh, Frogger. Okay, Leonard. That sounds better. What did you say earlier? You lost Forger. See, that's a whole different thing. That's more like writing bad checks. That's not a good game. But Frogger, that was a fun game. Forger will get you in jail. Carl, hey Bear, gotta head out. Thanks for all the help. Yep, glad you're here, Carl. Michael, all right, climb to glory. Right of the line, man. Glad you're here. Jason Weber, Dynacord just started stamping some new Cougar parts for the 67, 68 model. Just a heads up. Well, there you go. Jason, you get a bell. You got two there, really. I was just kind of in a hurry. Got anxious. But that may answer the question about the Cougar. So I don't know if that's something they have. Oh, trunk floors and full quarters. That's the second. You already got the first bell. Yeah. As I'm talking here, I'm getting messages and questions here. People want answers. I'm trying to give them the best I can. And, oh yeah. And I will say, today I had, last week was Arby's. Today was Wendy's. You know, I have a thing for redheads. My wife's a redhead. Went cheap. Got the $5 biggie bag and then a big drink. So, but I have to stay hydrated, you know? I'm out here talking, and eventually my voice will fail, just the way it is. But yeah, you know, we were talking about the snowmobiles and stuff. I remember years later we had I don't know what, I think it was maybe an Arctic Cat or something like that. And what I hated about those things, I don't know what year they put electric start on them, but if any of you have dealt with pull starting a snowmobile, what a pain. You know, it's cold outside and here you are spraying starting fluid and pulling and hoping, and you know, eventually it may start, but you break, you know, shuts off somewhere and you're just a pain. So those old snowmobiles, you know, I'm so glad that new one we talked about when we took that trip to Colorado, beautiful, you know, kill switch, hit the button, ding, 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 boom, fires right up, idles, fantastic. Plenty of power, aluminum bodies, and, you know, lightweight, all that stuff, really cool. Let's see, Leonard, there you have swap meets here for car parts. You know, not that I think they do. I think there's I know they do occasionally at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which is just 20 minutes away from me. Occasionally they'll have swap meets. I've not gone to any, primarily because I work my regular job on the weekends, so that kind of ties me up all the time. And then in Moultrie, Georgia, they have a huge swap meet, and I haven't been to that one either. At some point I'd like to go, but I don't know. I just end up having, I wouldn't have time to like take stuff or whatever, and I'd probably want to buy half the stuff there and not having where to put it. So it kind of defeats the purpose for me. Let's see. We had a full start Polaris with steel tracks. It was a beast. Yeah. Robert, we'll have to move my Wendy's sign to the shop for filming. I have the big oval one with her in the middle, along with an old order counter in the shop. Well, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. Donnie, how about some fresh instructions on accessing your Amazon page? Well, you know, if you go to any of my YouTube videos, especially in the last year, I don't know, if you go to my, in the description section, there's a link for Amazon. And so if you click on that link, it'll take you to my Amazon page. And I have products listed. I've got, you know, body filler and tools, and I've got parts and different things, stuff for the shop that I've used. And if you go there, you can, you know, see some of that stuff, and maybe you want to order something. That's fine. And if you do order something, I get a little percentage back. But while you're there, if you decide you want to order something else, I still get a percentage. Don't worry about it just because you're saying, well, today I'm going to order, a new pair of eyeglasses or something. But I don't want to go to that page. If you go to my page and then you decide I'm going to order some eyeglasses, well, then I get a little kick of that. So thank you, Donnie, for bringing that up. Just want to make sure people know that. Heath, I'll have to get back to you on maybe a junkyard story because I've got questions to answer. I'm going to answer the questions. Ricky, what size sheet metal would you use on bodywork? I thought 19 gauge, but someone told me to use 16 or 17 patch paneling. That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I don't have a gauge. Well, I say I don't have a gauge. I have a gauge reference right here that I got with my Vulcan welder. But I don't remember. Let me look at that. What numbers are you saying here? 19 gauge. Oh, yeah, 19 gauge. That's pretty good. Somebody was saying 16 or 17 patch panel. That's pretty thick. 19 seems pretty doable, but again, it depends on what you're messing with. I can't tell you. I don't remember the numbers for what the sheet metal stuff is that I use. I was trying to think about a piece of sheet metal here that I could measure, but I don't have anything close by. But looking at this, 16 or 17, that's pretty thick. That's pretty thick stuff. 19 is probably more manageable based on, this. So just keep that in mind. Because the heavier the metal, the harder it is to, form and do things with. Just consider that. All right, Brian. Not sure what you're saying there, but meaning of life, the answer is 7. Okay. Let's see, Leonard. I had an old Cushman with the kickstart, and it was an ankle buster. Yeah. I had an old Yamaha 305 cross country, 2-stroke, and it was a left-hand kickstart. Let me tell you, I could not kick that thing with my left foot to save my life. I had to get off the bike and kick it with my right foot. And I don't know if that's how they intended it or why they put it on the left side, but I couldn't do it. So that's how I had to pull it off. Robert, used to remodel and build Wendy's, so I snagged a few things from the dumpster. Oh, there you go. That's a good way to do it. Johnny Crash. I bought a can of that brushable seam sealer from your store. I used a link on my phone that I brought up your store in the app. So I'm not 100% sure that you got the kickback. Hope you did. Yeah, I don't know, because whenever, as long as you went through my page, it's going to work from what I understand. But I can't say, I don't know who orders what. It might tell me on this date there were 5 or 10 items ordered, but it doesn't tell me who it was, which is fair. I don't need to know. And it doesn't say, what they ordered. So let's see. Robert Adams, the aftermarket steel stuff is 19 gauge. Yeah, and that's reasonable. I mean, looking at this here, that makes sense. That's exactly what I'm envisioning, 19 gauge. Let's see. I was told to use 20 gauge on all panels from my friend that restores cars. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know what's available. As far as if you're talking raw sheet metal, yeah, but a lot of the stuff that are patches that are made that you can work with. Jason, who remembers the old pedal start mopeds? I do. Yep, I've seen them on actually on Facebook Marketplace quite a bit, and I was going for bringing some pretty big money, oddly enough. Matt, 16 gauge is shock tower gauge. Yeah, too thick. Yeah, other stuff was Robert. Other stuff was 14 to 16 for the thick steel parts. Yeah, it's like I said, you start getting thick, you have a hard time, you know, massaging it into shape, and you don't want to do that. I hear my son's outside. He's out. I don't know. He's getting ready to go drive back to his apartment, and I hear him. He must be on the phone. So I'm sitting here, and I hear him talking. I don't know who he's talking to, but I hear him. So I don't know if he's going to duck his head in here or not. Uh, let me see what he's doing. Hold on. Jake. Oh, I hear him talking. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, but apparently he's stuck. He parked in my yard a couple days ago, and now he's stuck because of all the rain. So let me see if I can get him to come inside. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. Tell him to come in here. I know. Tell him to come in here, man. Let's see. Yeah, he's stuck. He's right. He's got his front wheel drive Mazda, so I'm probably gonna have to pull out Frankentruck and hook to him and pull him out, and that'll be fun because it's raining, raining, raining. So I can already envision I'm gonna have to take some straps. Yeah, get some straps and hook to him. See if I can get him to come in here. um, I see Johnny Crash. I really hope at least one of my kids is interested in cars when they grow up. They show a little interest, but you know how the kids' attention spans are. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how else to make it better. Yeah. Seems the short answer to gauge would be to measure what you are welding to. Yeah. And that's basically it. I use calipers, and I'll measure my metal and just kind of go back with what I have. Just seems to be the best answer. Um, Man, so I got 50 people still watching. That's good. Oh, yeah, Johnny Crash. My oldest is 7, so we'll see. Yeah. Well, it's I don't know what else to do. Because there's as you if you listen to oh, Mike Rowe, he's always trying to push having the oh, we'll see you, Dave. Mike Rowe is always pushing the uh, you know learning about things that are going to college and doing different stuff like that. So I'm gonna bring Jake into the picture. This is my son, my middle son, my youngest
Hello?
son, middle child, Jake, and he got his car stuck.
I did. It's a little wet outside.
And I try to tell him, I tell my kids when they come in for a visit, park on the concrete. If you can, it's raining, park on the concrete. He didn't park on the concrete. Jason says hello. Yeah. If you're, yeah, micro, yeah, push all the trades. Yep. So anyway, this is Jake, and he's. Don't you have a YouTube channel?
I mean, there's nothing on it worth watching.
He's thinking about making his own YouTube or developing his own, growing his YouTube channel. He's got a little bit on there, not much, but we'll see. Yeah, I guess he got mom's looks. Yeah. Yeah, Tyler. This is actually Ted, not Tyler. He's saying, "Hey, Jake, don't forget to fill your divots after moving the car. Park on the concrete."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's learning a lesson. Now the bad part is, who's gonna have to bail him out? Dad, right? Dad's gonna have to get out there, get wet, hook to him with the Frankentruck, and pull him out of this mud. But I know You're trying to get back to the apartment.
Yeah.
You in a big rush?
No, no.
Yeah, not now because you're stuck.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere. uh, let's see. Leonard, do you watch the guy that restores Hot Wheels? Actually, I do. I've seen that. I've seen his videos, and that's pretty cool. You know, he takes those little Hot Wheels and gets them apart, and reshapes them, and fills them in with Bondo and shapes if they're damaged, and gets them back into shape. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Jack, teach him a lesson, make him get muddy. Oh, he gets muddy. He's done Spartan races with me.
Yeah.
And he gets muddy. So he knows how to get muddy. Let's see. Gary, hi Jake. Leonard, how much do you charge? Yeah, for pulling them out, not nearly enough. I can tell you that right now. Thanks for the live chat, and thanks to all the others. Oh, now my wife's trying to sneak in. You guys want my wife to sneak in here too?
No.
It's a whole family event.
Yeah. No, she's too shy. She doesn't want to sneak in. She's ducking out. Let's see. Jack, awesome. Yep. Family event. Yeah, she ducked out. She does not want to show up on the channel. I've tried to hook up fee $100. Yeah. Well, you know, if you call AAA or something, you know, you'd have to, or whoever, you'd have to pay up some money. Anyway. Yeah, Johnny Crash, don't blame her. I wouldn't want a bunch of internet weirdos to see me either. Yeah, you know, but she's much better looking than I am, so you guys get to see my ugly mug and Jake. Yep. Go pull your son out. Have a great night. See you next week. Yeah, that'll be the plan. All right. I'm going to cut this short so I can help Jake get unstuck. But I thank you all for being here and contributing. And we'll do this again next week, Monday night, 7 o'clock. And yeah, Brian. Yep, I grew up in Pennsylvania, Somerset County. If you know where that's at, Somerset County. But anyway, it's been fun, and we'll see you next week.